the time mental health outreach with Sister Arnetta LeGree and myself, Sister Corrine Kelly. You can reach us at 240-432-6763 or our website, igbatt.com. Last week we talked about moving forward. Happy New Year to all those that we didn't see last week. And we found out that we're talking about moving forward to our goals and our dreams that God has set for our lives. We defined the term moving forward as committed to pursuing the plan of God in our life despite our fears, insufficiencies, symptoms, and negative circumstances. Moving forward meant that allowing our own thoughts or allowing excuses or even our behaviors to keep us from pursuing our goals. Again, we're talking about moving forward, not being afraid to acknowledge that we are human and that we do have some insufficiencies, but also because of that, recognizing that we know that God is able to take any of our insufficiencies, our shortcomings, or any negative that comes in our presence in the situation, and He can turn those things around. You know, He can take those things that seem evil and make them for good. You know, He can teach us something each and everything that comes up. That we move forward without being intimidated, without having fears. When we have setbacks, that we don't become hopeless, feelings of hopelessness, or recognizing that it's not a permanent but a temporary situation that we're in, and we continue to trust and believe in God even though we don't understand everything that's going on in our life, and that we begin to become active in our faith, not just using a bunch of words. So again, we're talking about moving
easy
forward.
For me to blame you why I didn't get the job.
That's right.
Well, I would get it, but you know, it's those Republicans, you know, or I would do it, but it's the Democrats.
Yeah.
You know, it's always somebody else's fault. And those things may or may not be true, but we have to look at what am I doing or what am I not doing that's causing me to move forward.
That's right.
So again, going back to the personality, some of us, like I said before, are just abrasive. And people just don't like being around us. You know, and I don't care, you know, we may be wonderful workers, but we can't get along with anybody.
Yeah, and
we have to be honest. We have to get to the point. You know, sometimes things are just knocking on our door. Okay, you need to work on this attitude. You have a bad issue. You know, everybody could be wrong, but everybody, you have to take a look at it. If 2 or 3 people say to you, you know, you just got a bad attitude, or they say kind of the same thing, it wouldn't hurt you to say, you know what, let me take a look at that. Maybe that's something I need to work on. But we don't want to do it.
That's right.
Because the first thing I say, well, she got a bad attitude too. Why are you picking on me? Well, it's not about her. It's about you at this moment.
That's right.
Again, when we talk about moving forward means that we will not be intimidated by our shortcomings. That's a shortcoming. I'm not going to be intimidated by the fact that I have a bad attitude. I'm going to learn to work on it. Sometimes I may have to ask other people to help me. Okay, if I do this, you know, just remind me. Okay, I'm not going to be intimidated by our shortcomings. I'm not going to allow my weakness to cause me to give up on my dream and goal. Just because I have a problem, I'm not going to let that problem stop me from moving forward. And what I mean by that is just because I have an illness, I'm not going to let that illness stop me from at least doing something. You know, because I think we had said before, the plan that I have or the thoughts that I have for my life may not be the ones that originally were given by God.
Right.
You know, so the thing is, once we begin to accept where we are and begin to realize that we can move forward and that we do have a plan for our lives, then that plan will become revealed.
Get past people. And as you say, I'm so thankful that when we come to the place of allowing God to be our drive above and beyond those things, and when we talk about other people, sometimes we've talked about our own thoughts, and someone else, and we talk about power of suggestion. I'm fired up, I'm enthusiastic, I'm ready to go, and boom, you come by and you bust my bubble. I need to get to that place that, you know, thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
All right. And usually we say, and the thing is that usually when people can, quote unquote, bust our bubble, it's people that are dear to us.
And also, it's also
their
inside
words.
us. It's inside of us.
And they can
yeah.
confirm, they can either confirm, what's the other word I'm looking for?
Confirm.
Okay, they can either what's in me. Okay, they can either confirm or contradict what's in me. All right, and either way, it's gonna bring an emotion.
Right.
Okay, and so then I have to decipher that after that. You know, I've got to be able to do like a paper shredder. Okay, shred those words that don't need to be there.
Right. And I think the main thing is, in order to get to the point where I can shred those words, I have to first deal with myself first. And when we're talking about, well, I don't have self-esteem, I don't know what I should think, then the Word of God is the greatest place you can go to and to figure out how you can think.
Yeah, because unfortunately, a lot of people, because they are not sure about how they really feel about themselves, they're looking for others
to affirm them.
Absolutely. You know, as long as you tell me, oh, you're a sweet person, you know, I feel good about that, you know. Oh, you can do it, you know. Then, oh yeah, now I can do it. No, she was right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Going back,
Because
thoughts, feelings, and behaviors still coming together. What's in me, what's really in me, when you're saying you can't do it, is letting me, I'm joining with that. Well, yeah, you're right, I can't do it. Now you got two people saying it. You said it, and now I'm saying it. And if I think that, I feel that way, I'm not going to do anything.
Absolutely. Agreement is there.
Right.
So it's coming to that place first and foremost of back to that manual we talked about last week. Okay, God has a manual that He tells me, number one, in Isaiah 26, that He keep me in perfect peace. Right. All right. So I've got to get a peace in me. All right. And then He goes on to let me know that I'm precious in Isaiah 43 and 4, that I'm precious in His sight. Okay. So if I really want to know if there's ever anybody that it's important to know what their ideas and their thoughts about me, it's the one that made me in the first place. So I need to go to the manual. What does He really say about me?
Right.
He says I'm precious. So if He says I'm precious, if you don't think I'm precious,
it doesn't really matter.
And He knows me. He knows my ins and outs. He knows these weaknesses. He knows those insufficiencies. He knows those bad things in my in my attitude. He knows those weird behaviors that I can have. He knows those thoughts that I may have when I'm all by myself.
Right.
He knows how fearful I am about a certain thing. Okay? But in the midst of knowing all that, He still says I'm precious.
Exactly. And the thing is, I have to begin to join with what He's saying, as opposed to joining with what I feel or even what other people say. Because other people will manipulate you, if your situations will manipulate us if we will allow it. Now you go out, you buy a nice suit, and you think, oh, okay, this looks pretty good, and you go to a job interview, and somebody go, what you doing with JCPenney shoes on? And then they go, oh gosh, everybody know I went to JCPenney. So what? Or they may say, well, what you doing those Walmart shoes on? And your point being what? You know, these are my shoes. I like them. I purchased them. I'm going to wear them. But like you said, if we're not comfortable, then we're not going to feel good. We're not going to move forward. Because in order to move forward, we have to be at least willing to take a risk. And I think that's the thing. We have to be willing to take a risk to do something different. You know, because all we have to be is willing. Because once we're willing, then the help will come.
You know, just there when you talking about, you named two places, Walmart and JCPenney's, as far as the shoes concerned.
Walmart and JCPenney's, if you like, you can send us a donation. So It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach. Post Office Box 7432, Silver Spring, Maryland. Okay.
So, but
we are a nonprofit.
Okay, and even in naming things, we live in a society where everything has to have a name. It's got something written on it. You know, this shirt is whatever. You know, it's amazing. We will do that for temple things. Okay, you know, got to be a name. Okay, right. Because you know, if I want, we wear them. That's cheap. That's it got to be top quality. Then, if I want top quality to that degree, how far am I willing to go to have a top quality mind?
And that's going to take studying. That's going to take getting rid of thoughts or challenging thoughts that come to your mind. I think the main thing is we don't necessarily, if I have a thought that comes to my mind, you're stupid. And people say, I'm not going to try to think about that thought. No, put your mind someplace else. Because the more you try not to think about the thought, the more the thought will come. But if you're actively engaged in something else, all you have to do, and as your mind drifts back to that, you're stupid, just drift it back to something else. Because we're thinking anyway, so you may as well think something that's going to be conducive, that's going to be positive to your growth, as opposed to tearing you down. Because don't think that you can think something and it doesn't have an effect on who you are, because it does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah, everything we do is governed. Everything in our life, be it negative or positive, is governed by a thought. Everything. You know, we don't want to accept that, but it really is.
Yeah. And again, when we talk about moving forward, you know, taking a risk, like we were saying, the thing is, it's like once you decide, I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to go get my GED, you know, yeah, you're going to have a lot of negative people. Well, you're 16, you're just now going back to get your GED? But you're going to have one person, it may only just be one, say, well, I think that's so great. Well, tell you what, you're going to get your GED? Tell you what, I have some books. Because see, now you took a step, you know?
And you know, I'm thinking, and I cannot remember his name right off, but I remember a few years back when they made the announcement that multimillionaire of Wendy's went and got his, after all of that, went and got it, was a high school diploma?
I don't remember, you know, but I know the Wendy's guy is dead now.
Yeah, but he went back and he got, I mean, he was able to be successful, you know, so, you know, I'm not saying by any means don't get an education, that's not what we're saying, you know, but he didn't let the fact that he didn't get it stop him from still moving forward.
Exactly.
And this is what we're, and I just read recently in the paper where the man was, it was in the 3rd grade, he's an older man, and he finally was able to go to school to learn it. So it's never too late.
Exactly.
You know, is what we're getting at. You know, it may not come when we want it. And I remember someone recently, they said, well, I'm not going back. I said, they were in college. It's just taking me so long. I said, the only thing I could tell them is keep your eyes on the goal.
Right.
Keep your eyes on the goal. And we're still saying again, yes, they're going to be obstacles. And it is, I'm going to say, for us in the Christian, we've prayed some prayers and know some things that we have prayed and believed God for, they have not worked out. And only thing you're responsible, when I say responsible, I'm saying it to this degree, as long as you know you have done what's right, okay? You're not responsible for what the other person has done.
Exactly.
You know, you're just responsible for yourself. There's been, as we said in the beginning, yes, there's been some disappointments and there's been discouragement, you know, that have come through because we have had this confidence more in people than we should have sometimes. And if we can get past all this confidence that we have in other people to determine our success.
Right.
Then only can we move forward.
Right, exactly. And I think that's when we have to do it. And again, sometimes going back to the other thing we have here, some of us just don't want to move forward. And that's okay, that's your choice.
Because I've gotten complacent.
Right. But keep in mind, if that's your choice, then don't wait. Realize that that's your choice. Don't make everyone else responsible for a choice that you made. You know,
Absolutely.
Well, I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to get a job. I don't want to. Okay, well, fine. You know, bum from house to house. You know, live off people. That's your choice. If people want to allow you to do that, then God bless them. But don't wait until you're like 60, 62 years old and then wonder what happened to your Social Security. You never worked. Right. You know, right. So there are certain consequences. Just keep in mind that whatever choice you make or don't make, you're actually making a choice, and there are consequences to that. And then we talk about fear, for instance. Again, we mentioned before, fear is natural and a helpful emotion, but fear, if we allow it, can cause us or can keep us from moving forward. Fear can keep us from trying out new things. We're talking about taking a risk. Well, if I'm walking in a negative fear, which is the fear that keeps me from moving forward, then I'm not going to want to, I would go back to school, but I'm afraid about what people might think. You know, I would start the business, but I'm afraid about this. Now, I was talking to someone, and they were talking about starting a business, and they were saying, yeah, all we need is to get a contract. All we need is to get a contract, and that would get us off the ground. And as I was thinking about that, I'm like, well, Wait till you get a contract, get off the ground. And I mean, I think, no, you have to get off the ground first, and then try to get the contract. You know, I think sometimes we want things to work out, see the end goal before we step out. And sometimes you're not going to be able to see the end goal other than on paper, like you were talking about before. Sometimes you just have to write things down. And as you write things down and you begin to see it in paper, on paper, and you begin to believe it, you begin to go, oh, I'm going to start a pie factory, okay? Then you begin, what kind of pie? And what kind of, you know, because you start thinking about it, you start writing things down, and you start getting the information. Once you start doing that, again, things will begin, opportunities will begin to gravitate towards you. I can't say, well, I'm going to get a factory first, and then I'm going to get the pie, start the pies. Because if I got the factory, then I'm going to have to try to figure out, well, what kind of pie I'm going to have, how much I'm going to sell the pie for, what type of pie, what size of the pie. And that's going to be too much time. I need to have already put some effort. I've already put some movement before certain things, you know, before certain things will come. But fear will keep us from trying out new things.
Yes, it will.
It will keep us stuck. Fear can cause us to develop the wrong attitude about life and our abilities. Because I'm fearful, again, going back to what you were saying, because I'm living in fear, I'm afraid of what people might think. If someone says to me that you can't do it, that fear will cause me to come up to think that I can't do it, and that's a wrong attitude. You know, well, I'll develop the attitude that I can't because I'm living in fear. When the reality is, I can do all things. You know, because I'm made in the image of God, male and female, made in the image of God. All I have to do is really put my mind to it. You know, I have to figure out what is the plan of God for my life and begin to walk in that. I can move forward. I don't have to let fear stop me.
Right. So it's important that I don't throw away my confidence. You know? I mean, yes, it takes time to build it, but don't throw it away.
Right.
Yeah, don't throw it away. And fear causes, you talk about moving forward, and fear will bring in the procrastination. Okay. Of just not, and you can, more than we realize, we draw to us. That's what's in us. You know, I'm fearful somehow. Yeah, I know what you mean, huh? I don't think I'm gonna go out there and try that. You know. So I'm still building. Okay, but how am I building? Positive or negative? Right. You know, either way I'm building. You know, so it's not, the fear doesn't just stay here. You know, it's building. You know, and every day it's I can add new stuff to this fear. Yeah, and finally to the point where I almost, if someone came along and gave me a word of encouragement, their encouragement would seem more like an insult.
Right. How dare you suggest that I should do that?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think the thing of fear, what I wrote down here, doesn't have to be loud. And what I'm thinking of when you were talking about how we can join ourselves with people, you know, I've seen some people, you may have one person in the group that's a little more loud than the other person, and that's maybe that more timid person may allow that person that's more talkative or whatever to control the situation. And I'm thinking, because I'm quiet and I'm timid, and you're loud and outgoing, that you're full of faith and you can move forward. But that's not necessarily the case.
Could be a camouflage.
Right, exactly. So I'm joining with you, and when you say I can't do it, because I put all my confidence, well, she seemed bold, she seemed that she can do it, well, I'm going to believe her. But that's, like you said, that's not the case. Anybody can walk unfortunately, can walk in fear. Just because a person is talking loud and saying what they're going to do, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, doesn't mean that they are not walking in fear.
That's right.
Okay. How you can tell when a person's not walking in fear is when they do what they fear anyway.
That's
It's
right.
the results
That's right.
that come up.
That's
So the thing is, going back to being intimidated, just jump back here, we can become so focused on our weaknesses that we can become immobilized by fear. We allow what we see to intimidate us. We allow the fact, you talked about brand name clothes. We allow, for example, people we consider to be brand name, okay, to intimidate us. Okay, this, wow, you know, this, if she said we can't, we can't. But it doesn't matter what he says or what she says. What is God put in your heart to do?
And you know, right there, I believe if we ever had an opportunity to talk to someone who
Mhm.
has really been successful,
Right.
and find out, was there ever a time where you felt reluctant about
Mhm.
what you were going to do? Was there ever anyone in there that intimidated you?
Mhm.
And is there anyone that anytime that you ever felt fearful or apprehensive about what you're doing now? And if we really got down to it, they would tell you, yes, I did, but I made up in my mind that I was committed and I had to get beyond
Right.
this. You know, truth be told, there is not anyone, anywhere, in any situation that has not been at one point in their life in goals that they had, intimidated,
Right.
came up with any fear, you know, had to overcome their own personal weaknesses, you know. So we're not talking something that's unusual. We're just wanting to reach out to those that may be going through with some of this at this time, to help you in 2007 to I'm not saying make resolutions. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying sit down, write some plans out, some desires that you have for your life, and begin to work on them. And we're not saying that there won't be any obstacles. We're not saying there may be times that you may have, that there won't be a setback of some sort. But if you got that goal written out, and go back on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and remind yourself of it, and see how far God has brought you in this situation, it will bring you a spirit of an attitude, an emotion of gratitude, of appreciation, of accomplishment.
Right.
You know, it will make you begin to feel good about yourself, and it will help you in your moving forward to get rid of some of those things that's been holding you, that's had you stuck like you in quicksand. Like, the more I try to go forward, we see people say, look like I take one step forward and two steps back, and you're just like you're on a conveyor belt.
Right.
You're walking, but you're not going anywhere, and you make it up in your mind today, no, I am moving forward. I will go forward this year. I will not be stuck any longer. The quicksand has dried up.
That's right.
You got to make it up in your mind, because no one else can do it for you.
Because regrets, I think, if you're 21, under 30, that's not an issue. But it's something, have you ever, looked back at your life and you wondered, what happened? What happened to all those goals and plans that I had set for myself? What happened to what I said I was going to do? Life happened. For a lot of times, life, you got married, you have kids, things get in the way. But what you don't want is to get to the end of your life and have regrets.
That's right.
And that's the main goal. Again, when we talk about moving forward, is to be able to do what it is that you were put here on this earth to do without having any regrets. Even if it doesn't work out the way you think that it worked out, at least you tried. Broadcast, we've been talking about moving forward. We've been talking about barriers or things that can keep us stuck. We're going to continue this discussion on our next broadcast. Thank you for joining us here at It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach. You can find out more about us by logging onto our website at www.igbatt.com. Until next week, realize that you do have a God-given purpose for living, and you can move forward.